I actually don't know how my father and his brothers ended up understanding that there was space in this industry. But I think this business began together with our wine shop. In the 80s, probably they noticed that they were becoming a point of reference for companies looking to create Christmas gifts. Also, the 80s was a period of significant industrial development in Italy. So many companies had a lot of budget to invest in high quality gift baskets. So probably they understood this and they adapted the business to that.
Welcome to this special Italian wine podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Ambassador's Corner. My name is Carla Ravagnolo, and today we have Michele Longari and Cecilia Longo here with us. So welcome, everyone.
Hi, thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
So one fun fact about Michele is that he started his career in computer engineering, but he's always had a deep and rooted passion for wine and food, to the point that he decided to start a professional sommelier diploma. The more he got involved in wine, the less he wanted to deal with computers and coding. So that's when he decided to fully dedicate himself to wine. After moving to the UK and obtaining several wine certifications, he's now purchasing director at High Wines. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Hey, yes, hey.
I have one interesting question for you, because your story, your career switch could be an inspiration to many people, especially younger listeners or even experienced professionals. So how was it for you to first approach the wine industry as a professional coming from such a different environment?
I think that probably the most important difference I found between the two different industries is the fact that obviously in both jobs you need a lot of education and to be prepared, because you cannot just be unprepared in both matters. But I think the most important difference in the wine industry is the fact that in addition to having obviously a good level of preparation and education in wine, it's also incredibly important your ability to create and develop personal relationships, because in particular for the producer we are importing as a company, which are all small family-run vineyards. Yes, it is important that you are prepared in terms of wine tasting and wine marketing and all these kind of things. But most importantly, it's very important that you are able to create a relationship with the producer. So I think that this is something that you cannot learn from books. So when I was in computer engineering, I always felt that something was missing personally, because we are all different. But personally, I felt that something was missing in my job in terms of human interaction, because I was most of the time alone in front of a screen and maybe talking to customers just over the phone. I really missed something, and I think that I found what I was missing in wine, because yes, as I mentioned, in addition to all the work we need to do on a daily basis, it's also very important that you have the so-called soft skills to know how to deal with people and how to create and develop personal relationships with the producers.
I totally agree with you, and I'm very much glad that you found what you were looking for, basically, in the wine industry. So you mentioned, of course, that relationship and human interaction is extremely important in wine. So I'm very much curious to know, why did you select Cecilia Longo as your favorite producer? How did you get to meet her?
Yeah. So first of all, I think I need to clarify that Longo 1961 is not actually a wine producer, but yet a company that has been involved with the food and wine industry for more than 60 years. I decided to have this conversation with Cecilia because they currently manage a wide portfolio of Italian wine producer, and they represent them on export markets all over the world. So thought that this conversation with Cecilia could give our listener a clearer and more detailed view of how Italian wine is actually marketed and approached by people all around the globe. The way in which I actually met Cecilia was a pure coincidence, to be honest. It happened during the last Vinitaly 2024. And during this edition, I was invited to an evening event organized by a small consortium of young winemakers. I met the person responsible for PR and press during this event. And after we had a chat, she told me that her boyfriend worked for a company acting as export agents for many Italian producers. A company that actually turned out to be Longo 1961. So I was very much intrigued by their business model. So finally, I managed to arrange a very quick last-minute meeting with Cecilia before the exhibition ended. But then we had another couple of online meetings afterwards, because I think that what they are doing is incredibly interesting.
It's funny to get to learn how you got to meet this company and Cecilia. So for today, what are the learning objectives that we should expect from this interview?
Yeah, sorry. Going back to what I said at the beginning regarding the wine industry, if you think about it, the way I met Cecilia is something that happens quite often in the wine industry. And the only reason why I was able to meet Cecilia is because during an event, I started to have a conversation with a person that person led me to Longo 1961. So what I said at the beginning, that this is something that is very important in the wine industry for people that want to approach a job like this, I really meant it, because if, during this event, I just, was on my own in a corner, very sad, without talking to other people, I wouldn't have been able to have the opportunity to actually meet Cecilia and to know something more about their company. So it's this kind of situation are happen more often than we think in wine. In terms of learning objective for today, I think that this time we will be focusing less on the production side of wine and more on the commercial side, logistics and marketing. In fact, I think that sometimes people tend to forget that once the wine has been bottled, there is still a lot of work to be done by many different key players before the wine is actually able to reach the glass and the final destination. So the interview with Cecilia, hopefully, will give our listeners a clearer idea of what happens behind the scene from the moment the wine is put in the bottle until the moment it's in the glass.
You have a lot to say, so I'm gonna leave you the room to introduce Cecilia actually and have fun. Let's learn more about this.
That's perfect. Thank you, Carla. Thank you. Ciao, Cecilia. How are you?
Ciao, Michele. I'm good. And you?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thanks for accepting my invite to come here today. I think it's going to be very interesting for our listener to learn something more about yourself and obviously your company. Just before we start our interview, let me just give to our listener a very quick introduction about yourself. So Cecilia was born in 1995, so she's very, very young. But actually, she joined the family business when she was just over 18 years old. So at the same time, so she's young, but she also has the experience, which is a combination that normally doesn't happen very often. She had the love at first sight relationship immediately with the world of the dining table, so food and wine. And obviously, in Italy, we all have this kind of relationship. Yeah. The Longo company, we need to say that is more than just a business, because actually it embodies family values, culture, and respect. And also it's a story of different generations succeeding one another and a continued evolution over time. Cecilia, at this very moment, is overseeing the product selection, marketing, and international market development for over 40 wineries in 30 countries all around the world. So, Cecilia, I gave a very brief introduction about yourself and your company, but obviously there is much more to say. Can you please introduce to our listener Longo 1961? Can you tell us where are you? Who are you? What do you do on a daily basis? And because I think this can be very interesting for our listeners.
For sure. So I'm the one who needs to thank you because I'm super excited of being here because I'm a very big fan of this format interviews of the wine business, and I always follow Italian wine podcast, so I'm super excited. You said everything already about me, but I will try to give you a panoramic vision of what I do. I'm, as you said, a 29 years old woman, and I live in the province of Milan. Nowadays, I represent the third generation of my family company, which has been established in 1961, in fact, by my grandfather. And my grandfather came from the south of Italy and used to produce wine in large volumes and probably lower quality, typical of the 60s and that period. Then in the 80s, my father and his brothers recognized the need for a change. So they first opened a wine shop in Legnano, and at the same time, they explored I would say, unconventional sales channel, which is the one of the corporate gift. So today, in fact, we are the leading company in Italy in this field. To give you some numbers, we create over 400,000 gift boxes, or we can call them hampers, every year. And we create them with the products, selected food and wine products, and we make them for companies looking to make gifts to their customers or to their employees, maybe. So this is our main business. And then additionally, in 2006, we began focusing on wine export, and now we export products from over 40 wineries to 30 countries worldwide. And to end this introduction, let me tell you what I do. So as you said before, I primarily handle the product selection together with my father. I follow all the marketing aspects, and then I also coordinate the export business.
Oh, that's great. And this is what I found immediately interesting about your company is the gift giving, the corporate gift giving side of the business, because it's something that until you don't think about it, you just take for granted. But then obviously, as soon as you start to think about exactly all the complex side of it, from selecting the products to managing the logistics, the commercial part, marketing, it's something that is very complicated. And talking about this side of your business, I wanted to ask you, Cecilia, how did everything start exactly? So what was the reason to start the corporate gifting side of the business? And if there was like a gap in the market, or if it was just an opportunity, a business opportunity? And most importantly, I wanted to ask you, because I think it's something not easy to do. How do you make sure every year that your selections are always at the same time competitive in terms of price, but also up to date in terms of trends and what people are looking for?
Yeah. And you can say it loud, actually. It's a very complex field, a very complex industry. And I actually don't know how my father and his brothers ended up understanding that there was space in this industry. But I think this business began together with our wine shop. We have this wine shop in Legnano, which is in the province of Milan. And it has also been awarded as the best wine shop in Italy. So it's a little corner, but something with a good history. And in the 80s, probably they noticed that they were becoming a point of reference for companies looking to create Christmas gifts. So people entered in the wine shop, and then they understood that they had the knowledge to make a good gift. So also the 80s was a period of significant industrial development in Italy. So many companies had a lot of budget to invest in high quality gift baskets for their customers. So probably they understood this and they adapted the business to that. But as you said, it's a very difficult business because create gift baskets requires tremendous flexibilities and big infrastructures, warehouses, because the boxes are always larger with the big volumes. So also it's important to service because companies want them to be beautifully designed, customized, featuring their logo, filled with tasting and always more and more ethical products that could represent their brand. So again, since we are not producer of fine wine or food, our role is to transform that kind of product into a memorable gift. And this means understanding for us where it comes from, how it's made, and try to highlight these values and make it a gift. So we put all the efforts to educate our clients, and we always or often speaks to people who are not into industry because they are probably people from multinational corporations or banks or insurances companies or tech firms, and they are not used to speak about wine or food as we do. So every time we try to educate them, we try to make this a real gift and try to let them understand what's the value behind each product that we select. And that's how we try to see and to tell people that our selection is trying to be up to date, as you asked.
Yeah, it's incredible. Again, I remember when I started to talk to you about this, and immediately, I immediately understood how difficult it must be, because obviously we're not talking about, average corporate gifts. We are talking about selection that, even enogastronomic enthusiasts like us will be very happy to receive. It's not that kind of average sad basket. So it's incredible how obviously everything started, because I think it was a very, very good idea to target this kind of market, and also it's amazing to hear how difficult it is to keep things under control and to manage all the different aspects. But yet, after 60 years, you're still, making an excellent job in this kind of business unit.
Thank you.
Moving to the other side of your company, so the wine shop, the Enoteca, I think this is also something brilliant for a company like yours, as it gives you the opportunity to get consistent feedback and inputs directly from wine consumers. And we had the opportunity to discuss about this during one of our meetings and explain that also we as a company, Hey Wines, we have a shop that actually is the tip of the iceberg probably, and is incredibly important, because it gives us the opportunity to talk to the people that are actually the final destination in the wine industry. So the people that are actually putting their hand in the pocket to buy wine. And I think this is something, having the opportunity to have a shop and to talk to people and see what people are looking for is something that gives you and also company like you an incredible advantage. So I wanted to ask you, from the specific view of your wine shop, what are the best-selling wines at the moment? And I also wanted to ask you, Cecilia, if you notice any trends and shifts towards specific styles of wine during the past 8 to 10 years.
It's a very good question. And when I speak about our wine shop, I'm very proud mama, because I love the last location that we chose in 2020. And because our wine shop, we need to say, is a blend of tradition and modernity. It's very stylish, but also practical, because everything is studied, and we choose many different parts from shops around the world that we liked, and we tried to put it in this location. It's a complicated location where we moved in 2020 because is made of 9 big windows. So unlike many wine shops that are narrow, dark, enlightening, with the old people serving you, our wine shop is the opposite.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
It's feature of, again, 9 large windows that allow people who pass by to see our product, and also clearly from the outside. So to encourage people to enter and feel comfortable, we display wines below 15 euros in the showcase. Our store manager are young sommelier, very knowledgeable people, and they're seen as a consultant to help their customers in choices. And as a wine shop of province, probably our customers' preferences might be a little different from those that everybody reads in the statistics or in magazines. What I see from the numbers, and when I stay there in the wine shop to help people, I see that the best-selling wines are always sparkling wines. So in our case, Prosecco, Franciacorta, or maybe Champagne. And I don't know if this preference is partly due to our role as key player in the gift business. But probably is also because in general there is a trend in consumption towards the sparkling wines, because I see them as a moment of celebration, the sparkling wine. So probably as the wine is no more a food product as it used to be in the 60s or in the past, now has become an element of a celebration. No, it has to be on the table of people when they want to celebrate something good, and probably the sparkling wines are clearly symbol of festivity and joy. Yes, it's something that I think is happening everywhere, and I think you made a very good point. So wine used to be something to be consumed only with food at the dining table, while obviously now the uses of wines are changing constantly because our society is changing constantly. And I think it's very interesting to also see all the efforts that you made in order to make sure that your wine shop was at the same time, obviously, an additional business unit for your business, but most importantly, a showroom for all the wines that are in your portfolio. And I think that this is something that is great. And I think the people around you and your customers are very lucky, because obviously it's not easy to find a wine shop with that level of details in the selection, and also with that level of knowledgeable staff there to support you, which is something that it's very, very important. Cecilia, I think you made it very clear that your company's focus isn't just about buying and reselling food and wine produce. Basically, this is like how the vast majority of distributors actually deal with this part of the business. It's clear that you show a full commitment to communicate and share with your clients the values, the history, and the tradition of your suppliers. So basically, you are creating value within your portfolio by adding more to it, so not just by buying and reselling. Can you tell us why you decided to go down this road, which is clearly more challenging and complicated compared to the traditional way of distributing food and wine produce? And do you think this is something that actually creates more value within the enogastronomic industry? I'm confident that this is the case, actually. So, our job goes beyond merely selling food like in a supermarket. So we are in the business of gifting, and when it comes to gift, every item must be carefully selected and represent also a value, probably. No, when you need to think to a gift, this is very important. You always think of what the other people would like to receive. And in fact, our role is crucial. And I would say that understanding our customers' values and needs and reflecting them by choosing a particular food or wine product, so this is the most difficult part, but is also the most important. And of course, then there must be all the efficiency part of services, logistics, and so on. But what we try to do is to make this product communicate itself. So we try to make also a box become a way to communicate a message to our receivers, to our customer. So it's not only a container, it's not only a place where we put food or wine at the box, but it becomes a place where it communicates something.
Yeah, it's actually, I think this part of your activity is actually inspiring because, as I mentioned before, there will be a much easier way to do what you are doing. But then obviously that's a road that is not creating any kind of value during this chain. And I think that, my job is obviously on the other side of the market because obviously you are exporting, I am importing, but at the end of the day, I see that the most important part of our job is not the purchasing bit. So when actually we select a new producer or when we buy the wine, is actually making sure that we are creating value throughout the chain and to make sure that actually we as the basically importers are actually adding something more to this chain. And I think this is something that a lot of companies are finding very difficult to understand, but obviously the wine market and the wine industry have changed in the past 20 years. And the role of people acting as distributors or importers or exporters is now much more than what it used to be. And I think we have a great responsibility on making sure that actually the producer we represent are actually also proud of what we are doing with their products. And Cecilia, talking about this part of your business activity, which probably we could call like a customer's education, maybe something like that. I don't know. But
definitely.
I know that you are organizing an important event called Longo al Chiosco, which will be held at the Museo Diocesano in September, in a few days, actually. Can you tell us a bit more about this event? When and why did you first organize it? And what kind of format are you following for this Longo al Chiosco?
I'm very excited in these days and we are all very busy because we are organizing, in fact, this big event happening next Tuesday in Milan. And for this special occasion, we are transforming an entire museum, as you said, the Museo Diocesano, into a big showcase of food and wine products. And it's not an annual event because for us it requires months and months of preparation. And our business is not to create events, but our business is something else. So will be very big. And in this poetic frame, our food and wine producers, partners will represent their products and they will try to highlight their production process. So everybody will be showcasing their products and tell our customer how they produce it and show them practically, actually. So we have invited the key buyers from the major Italian companies to experience firsthand the stories and the craftsmanship behind the items that we put in our gift box. And as we said before, our customers are not people from the wine industry, wine or food industry, but they are people coming from other completely different companies. So it's always a B2B. And these events will also have big speakers from the wine and food part and who will try again to educate our customers and try to show them how big is for us the work of choosing one by one the producers of food or wine products.
Yeah, and I think, again, in particular for the fact that, as you mentioned, you are not dealing with people in the food and wine industry, but people that do completely different jobs. I think what you're doing in this kind of event is exactly what gives you the opportunity also to improve your selection and to make sure that your customers are asking more and more from you. Because I think that in corporate gifts, if you don't show customers that actually you are different from everybody else and actually your selection is something a step forward, then probably they will start just to ask for like discounts or better prices. But as long as obviously you can show your customer that you are giving them the opportunity to create these corporate gifts that are basically a piece of work, no, a very important gift and something that is different from anything else, then is actually where you are also able to create even more value for the people that are buying the corporate gifts from you, but most importantly for the people receiving the gifts. So I think this is something that an activity that I think it's incredibly important. And I hope that our listeners can actually understand the amount of work that there is behind something that sometimes maybe we take for granted, like a corporate gift. If you wanted to do it in this way, the amount of work behind the scene is just incredible. Cecilia, although I found our conversation so far very interesting and inspiring, as I mentioned, at the end of the day, this podcast is called the Italian Wine Podcast. So I guess we need to go back to talking about wine. So also our listener can have a better understanding of your wine portfolio. Before you said that basically you are currently managing 40 Italian wine producers on more than 30 export markets on the globe. Can you tell us a bit more about your catalog? Which regions are you covering? And what are since you basically are responsible for the product selection, what are the specific criteria you and your team follow when you are looking for new wineries to be added onto your portfolio?
So before I start with this, thank you again for make a clear point of what we do in the gift business, because it's not easy to explain people what we do every time. It's struggling thing, and thank you for understanding.
No, of course, I understand that because as I mentioned at the beginning, it's something that people just take for granted. And I think that to some extent, doing corporate gift giving, as I mentioned before, in an average way, is not that difficult. What I think is incredibly difficult is to do corporate gift giving like you do, because basically you are creating like selections that require a lot of knowledge and a lot of different things. So I just wanted to point out that what you're doing is something that requires a lot of work.
It's true. So going back, as you said, to the wine part, we began handling the export of selected wineries 18 years ago in 2006. And our primary customers are traditional importers who then distribute their products in their respective countries. So by purchasing from us, they can access to a range of wineries and benefit from our groupage service, which also allow them to fulfill their orders with a single purchase, but then covering various Italian denominations. And over the years, our portfolio has evolved, as it always happens, even if some wineries have been part of our selection since the beginning. Our criteria for selecting the wineries are easy, but very strict. We search mainly for those that control the entire production process, which are preferably family owned. And most important is that they authentically represent their terroir.
Yeah.
Maybe with native grapes better, but what's important is that comes out the region where it comes from and the terroir.
Yeah.
The size of the winery is less important, but typically we work with wineries producing between 100 and maximum 500,000 bottles. I would say around this range. What matters the most is the philosophy behind the winery. While we do not specifically require for organic or biodynamic certification, for us it's very important that they respect the land and that they enhance it. Yeah. Nonetheless, it's important that they are precise in the service, because exporting is a serious business, and we ensure that to all our partners uphold these standards, because the export is very serious. While about the portfolio, we can say that we represent all the major Italian wine regions. And even if a winery is not listed in our catalog, our experience and the work that my parents at the previous generation in the company has been doing, this really allow us to connect with any kind of winery and also provide any kind of denomination they might be looking for.
Yeah, it's very interesting because when you were mentioning the criteria you follow when obviously you need to update your portfolio, as we discussed during one of our meetings, I think it's incredibly similar to what we do as a company, Hey Wines, and I think it's exactly the same. And in fact, it's the way in which you can actually make sure that not only you are importing or exporting Italian wines, but that you are also able to, as you mentioned, actually, I think you said it very well, to represent their region, their tradition, their history. And the only way to do that is to deal with wineries and producers that can actually show a focus on, yes, indigenous varieties, but most importantly on the traditional styles of wine done in their region. And this is obviously very important for like a podcast like Italian Wine Podcast, because this podcast is listened by people all around the world. And we need to remember that not everyone is so lucky to have the opportunity to visit Italy, because we have listeners that are all over the world, in the US, in Asia. And for many people, they just hear about Italy and Italian wine virtually, because it's a very expensive trip and is not something that is accessible to everyone. And this is something that is true also here in the UK. On a daily basis, I have customers that come to me and they love Italy, they love Italian wines, and they haven't had the opportunity yet to go to Italy for many different reasons. So I think that the opportunity we have with our job representing Italian wine is to give to these people also an idea of what Italian wine is about and what the Italian wine and food culture is about. And the only way to do that is exactly to follow what you describe as very strict criteria, very strict rules. So, Cecilia, you made very clear that what is your approach when it comes to selecting and exporting your producers. Can you tell us at the moment what are the best performing regions in your portfolio and the best performing markets? In terms of best performing markets, my question is a double question, because I would like to know both in terms of total annual sales, so like the biggest markets for Italian wine, but also if you have any, let's say, niche markets, so markets that have very small volumes maybe, but very good in terms of sales per capita.
Sure. Actually, for me, is a question that has an answer in a niche, because as per our wine shop, where we are in a province part of suburbs of a country, of a city, here we operate in another niche, because for example, in our export company, we don't sell a single bottle of Prosecco, but not for a choice, but because you don't refer to Longo when you're looking for a Prosecco, not because we are not able to search for it, but because you search for price when you need Prosecco and big volumes. You don't need the groupage service, or you don't need someone who tell you that this is better for a reason or another. We focus on medium high quality products, and they are not the everyday wine or the high volume wines, the vino della casa, no?
Yeah.
We specialize in rare and prestigious labels, such as, if I need to tell you names that probably everybody in the world know, are Mascarello or Quintarelli, the Montevertine wines, the Macchioli, Udero. I have many different and premium wines in our portfolio. And these are important names that contribute, of course, significantly to our revenue. But since the availability is limited in terms of bottles, the turnover is high in terms of value, but not necessarily in volume. So as you said, it's very interesting because if we need to watch the numbers, I tell you that our stronger market nowadays is Canada. But again, for us, is a niche, and we do a different role. We, of course, work with the monopoly, but not for the big tenders of everyday wine. We work for these kind of high, medium, high products. And we have markets which could be more weird because for us is very important Puerto Rico. We have an important customers that from us, he buys more than 15 different wineries or the Cayman Island or Malaysia. They are all important customers, but both in terms of volume, but I say volume in a different way, probably from another winery, because it never leaves a container from our warehouse. It leaves a mix of 5 to 10 different pallets with inside maybe 15 different wineries. So it's an unusual market, probably sometimes, and we also reflect unusual use in terms of consumptions, because if I need to watch the numbers for consumption, Tuscany and Piedmont are still the top performing regions for us. But before I mentioned to you some wineries which are themselves big names. So.
Yeah. It's clear that obviously for the very specific business model of your company, you are approaching the export markets from a different side compared to the vast majority of export agents. And I think what gives a lot of value for importers in terms of what you do is, as you mentioned before, your groupage service. And I just wanted to spend a few words about this because maybe not all the listeners know what it means exactly, groupage service. Basically, when you export or import wine from a country that is outside the European Union, the customs and the fixed cost regarding customs in particular are quite high. And this is something that I've seen myself, because obviously when I moved to the UK was still part of the European Union, and then the UK left the European Union. So before the UK left, so when the UK was still in the European Union, it was very easy for an importer like me to organize a groupage of producers on my own, because basically you didn't need to provide that level of detail in the export documents, and the export documentation wasn't so expensive. So basically, if I wanted to have, as you mentioned before, 5 pallets from 10 different producers, sometimes, well, not like that, but what I was organizing was more maybe 2 pallets and 3 or 4 different producers, one single collection point, and then I was importing the wine in the UK. Obviously, after the UK left, this is something that is still possible, but it's like incredibly difficult and expensive to do. So this is where companies like Longo come in help for importers, obviously looking for niche wines and niche appellation rather than volumes, because then Longo is representing all the 40 different producers. And this means that if an importer buys wines from Longo, they can actually place an order for different wine producer all over Italy, but they will have only one invoice and one document for the customs declaration, which basically gives a huge competitive advantage. And the other important bit is obviously that there is only one point of collection. So it's not like that you need to go and follow all the different producers, but all the wines are in the same place. They live in one place with one invoice and one custom documentation. And this is what is in this part of the industry referred as groupage service. And this is something that Longo is offering, and it has an incredible value for small and medium importers all around the world. So it doesn't surprise me that actually your best markets are very small markets like Puerto Rico, Cayman Island, these places, because for that kind of small importers, basically you are giving them a unique opportunity to have an incredible range of Italian wines in a very convenient way.
Exactly. Bravo, you are hired if you want, Michele.
It's great. It's great what you're doing. And I would like to ask you now the same question I asked you before regarding your Enoteca customers, which obviously are B2C customers. And now I wanted to ask you directly the same question about your B2B export clients. What are the best selling Italian wines abroad at the moment? And have you noticed any trends or changes in specific styles of wine since 2006 when you started exporting the wineries on your portfolio?
So as before, I told you that probably our main business of the gifting is affecting the consumptions inside the wine shop. I think that also here our model is affecting the statistics of the export, because what I see is that, as I said before, if I need to see the numbers, Tuscany and Piedmont are the regions that are top performing for us, and we don't even sell a bottle of Prosecco. And what we see, if I need to think about the trends, is an increasing interest in the lesser known denominations, probably because of our model. As I said, you don't search for Longo if you need to add a Montepulciano della Casa, but you search for Longo if you want probably a Val d'Aosta wine, a high Piedmont wine, I don't know, Valtellina, or probably those kind of denominations that are not for the ones that you would stock up for in your warehouse, but they are for sure the most representative if we need to think of Italy diverse grape varieties. So is a statistic that is different, is difficult to analyze.
Yeah. No, I think that what you're saying is consistent to what we see every day. And I think you're right. So part of this is due to the fact that people that want to work with your company, they are not looking for wines that are easy to find. But I think I'm also noticing on a day-to-day basis that Italian wine is growing incredibly all around the world, thanks to the smaller denomination and the almost unknown grape varieties. Because obviously we need to think about the fact that the wine market probably is reaching a saturation point in terms of the most important appellation and the most important varieties, because they are available basically everywhere. So we are reaching a point where, in particular, the export markets are starting to look for something different. And when you start looking for something different, Italy is, in terms of wine production, is a very good starting point, because, as we know, Italy, in terms of number of indigenous grape varieties and denomination and styles of wine, it's basically unique in the world, because the diversity in terms of soil composition and microclimates, the variety of styles from, as you mentioned before, let's think about a white wine from Valle d'Aosta and the whites from Puglia or Sicily. Although we are in the same country, the diversity between the two styles is incredible. So Italian wine, I think, is becoming all around the world a starting point for importers and distributors that are looking for something different for their customers. And with Italian wines, you know that actually you can find from Valle d'Aosta to Calabria and Sicily, you can find a variety of very top quality wines in styles that are able to please a lot of customers, because that's what at least I find out every day in my day-to-day experience. Finally, I have actually two last questions for you before I leave the room to Carla. So a couple of questions that I always like to ask to all the people I'm interviewing. So since 2006, Cecilia, you have given high relevance to international market for Italian wine. And I just wanted to ask you, from your direct experience, what are the three most important words or adjective to be used when communicating and promoting Italian wine abroad?
Good question. I think we have been speaking about it for the past last hour, and but in my case and for the wineries I represent, which to me, for my personal opinion, embody the true essence of what Italian wine world should continue to be, I would probably use history, territorial expression, and variety, as we said, grape variety and native grape varieties.
It's a very good point. And I think that history and variety are also two of my favorite words when I had to describe Italian wine, because it's obviously the history that there is behind every single wine, and the variety of styles is just something incredible. And now, Cecilia, before I leave the room to Carla, the last question. So pay attention. I give you three different options: web and social media, PR and press, events and hospitality. So I just gave you three different marketing channels that are actually very popular in the wine industry nowadays. Consider that you were giving enough resources, both in terms of time and money, to be invested on this channel, but you had to pick only one of these marketing channels. What channel would you pick, and why would you pick that specific one?
This is very tricky, especially for a native of the social like us, no? But probably if I need to consider an unlimited budget, I have no doubt that the most effective solution is the incoming activity, so events and hospitality. In fact, the event we're going to take next Tuesday is the practical explanation of this, because actually you can show people what you do and you can explain them why you do it in that way, and for sure is the best solution to promote yourself.
Yeah, it's I agree, and I need to tell you that so far everyone has given me the same answer. I think that obviously the incoming it's a very expensive marketing activity. It's a very expensive marketing activity because obviously it's not just that you need to allocate time and work, but also you need infrastructure. But considering, yes, in limited budget, everyone so far has given me the same answer. So incoming is the best way, and I totally agree, because in particular for this kind of wines and products, the best way to communicate them and to share their value is by sharing this kind of experience with the customer. So I am done with the interview. Thank you very much, Cecilia. Now I'll leave the room to Carla, because I think there is probably a question for you.
Yes.
Thanks to you, Michele. It's been a pleasure.
This was actually very interesting. I know you've touched already on the markets you work with, but we do have a very specific question. Do you and your company work with the Central Asia market?
Yes, I need to make a difference between the wine business and the hampers business. Actually, we work in Asia with the wine export, and we cover all the different countries, I would say, with little numbers, as I said before, because we represent little wineries, but we cover all the different countries. But with the hampers instead is a different thing, because when you go into the gift business, you need to consider which are the consumptions in the country of reference. In fact, for this branch of our company, we haven't been able yet to understand how to export this kind of business, because in Italy we are super strong. We know perfectly which are the use and consumptions in the country. But if you go to Asia, of course, there will be other moment of the year when you need to celebrate something, and other products that you would consider to celebrate. So what we would like to find is a partner on the other countries that can help us to identify that. We bring our knowledge in terms of logistics, in terms of boxes, in terms of customization of it, services, and so on. And they help us understand which are the products and the way to go on the market.
Amazing. Thank you so much for this interesting answer. So I think this is a wrap, but I really want to thank you, Michele and Cecilia, for this conversation. I think it's been extremely interesting because you've touched on such a variety of topics, spacing from logistics and portfolio selection to the on-trade and market demand. So again, thank you so much. I hope you had fun. and we look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you very much. Ciao Cecilia, thank you.
Grazie everybody, ciao.
Bye.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.